Yesterday I misspoke. I said that we were going to be looking at its first miracle, and that's wrong. The next chronological event is the temptation of Jesus, which is found in three of the Gospels. It's found in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. The most complete account is in Luke. The shortest account, of course, is in Mark and doesn't even list the temptations that he went through. But great consistency between all of the Gospel accounts, and the fact that he's led by the Spirit, that he's filled with the Spirit. That's the best time to get tested. If you're going to get tested, be filled with the Spirit. And we have one discrepancy in the fact that the order of the temptations in Matthew and Luke are different, but still the same three temptations, so no big deal there. Certainly you want to look at Psalms 97:11, 1 Kings 19:8, and Exodus 34, and you'll see some prophecies towards these temptations and about these temptations. The first temptation in Luke is, if you're the Son of God, turn the stone into bread. Well, it tells us that he was hungry because he had fasted for 40 days, and we know that it would have been very tempting because he certainly had the ability to turn the stones into bread, but he answered with Scripture, and he said we are taught to live by not by bread alone. Deuteronomy 8:3. Second temptation in Luke is taking him up and showing him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment, and all of the things of the world, and he says, I'll give it all to you if you'll bow down and worship me. And certainly Jesus is not going to do that. The third temptation is being taken up to the temple, to a high point on the temple, and he's challenged by Scripture to jump off of the temple, because the Scriptures tell us that that he could do that and his feet wouldn't even be hurt because the angels would watch over him. And of course we get again that if you're the Son of God, that accusation, if you're really the Son of God, you could do this because the angels have charge over you. That's Psalm 91. And of course he answers in Scripture again, and not test the Lord thy God, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 16. Now, one of the things you want to remember as you think about that, if you're the Son of God, challenging whether or not he really is the Messiah, but also we know that it works on the same principles that we've been talking about in temptation. We have the temptation of the lust of the flesh, that was to turn stones into bread. We have the temptation of the lust of the eye, and that was seeing all of the things of the world, the kingdoms of the world and all of its possessions, and that certainly is the lust of the eye as he looked at all of that. And then finally the third temptation, jump off. That's because if you're the Son of God, it's the pride of life, and he was being tempted through Scripture. Satan knows Scripture, and he tempted him through Scripture. One of the interesting things about this that sometimes people miss is that after the temptations, after Jesus had been tempted in all three ways that we can be tempted in, every temptation will fall in one of those three: the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. But one of the things that's really interesting here is that the angels came and ministered to Jesus after his temptations. The other thing that's really interesting is, you'll take a look at verse 13 in Luke, you'll see that Satan departed for a time, waiting for another opportune time. So we know that Satan certainly prowls around like a lion, seeking whom he may devour. And if you are strong and filled with the Spirit and he is held off, don't think that he's gone permanently. He's just waiting for that opportune time to catch you at a time when you're weak, when you're not filled with the Spirit, and tempt you then. Well, it's the weekend, and I hope that you're not going to be tempted this weekend to skip church. I hope that you're not going to be tempted to do anything that would be displeasing to God, and I hope that you'll do a little study on the temptation of Jesus, the next event in chronological order in the Scriptures. You'll find it in Matthew 4, 1 through 11, and Mark 1, 12 and 13, and Luke 4, 1 through 13. And that's my thought for the day. God bless you, and I'll see you on Monday with the first miracle.